And that brings us to Mississippi State, where Will Rogers, for many of us, was the presumed starter. He's got the most experience, at least there in Starkville at Mississippi State. Jack Abraham has been kind of curiously absent from the mix. And we've talked to Mississippi State folks from 247 Sports and elsewhere, and it's just kind of a known situation, but there's not really been anything unveiled. But we've got a new competitor apparently in the mix. So what have you gathered there from the Mississippi State situation?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, and don't know why Abraham hasn't been able to compete. But I think the fact that the job is still open says that Rogers hasn't at least taken hold of it. And so Chance Lovetich is the other guy who is in competition for that starting job, the transfer from South Alabama, who's got some spunk to him, can rip the ball when he needs to. But I still think it's probably Will Rogers' job to lose. It is interesting he hasn't taken hold of it yet, but at the same time, knowing it is Mike Leach is the head coach, and sometimes he just kind of plays things a little bit differently, and you can maybe see two guys. I do think it's Rogers' job to lose, but at the same time, the fact that Chance Lovetich has made it a competition at least can have Mississippi State fans at ease that you have some depth at the quarterback position if Rogers struggles or if he doesn't take the job.
Mike Leach, of course, one of the great offensive gurus in college football, and I say that with respect. He's kind of a quirky guy, but I say that with all sincerity. What he did at Texas Tech, if you look back, 5 of his last 6 teams finished in the top 25. Now, I think any Red Raider fan would take that today, and certainly college football fans, you don't think of Texas Tech being a top 25 team, but he accomplished that 5 of his last 6 seasons. Then he goes to Washington State. They were winning 2 to 3 games. He turns that around, finishes 1 year in the top 10, and wins his 8 to 9 games per year there. Comes to Mississippi State, and what is very intriguing about the success failure rate of his offense last year was they hit the field against the defending national champions on the road in Death Valley game 1 and put up an SEC record of total yardage, passing yardage, in a game with KJ Costello at the control, 623 yards. And so you think, wow, he's taken the SEC by storm. And then they just falter after that and put up some anemic passing numbers. They still threw the ball 70 times a game, but they scored like 1 touchdown in the next 4 games. And actually the run game and the defense won the games that they won last year and got them to a bowl game, and they won the bowl game and didn't have a successful year, but at least ended well with a few wins, and I think 4 and 7. But in terms of the Mike Leach offense, what have you seen there? Is there anything different about the Mike Leach offense versus, we just mentioned Josh Heupel and some of the other ones that are being run across the country? USC, of course, they've got their own version of the air raid.
Yeah, it's fun. It's the air raid nowadays has so many different components to it, or so many different schemes of the air raid. Mike Leach being one of the originators with his offense. What's a little bit different is they don't necessarily go deep or chunk the ball as much as you may think they do if you watch UCF or the better offense. They're taught to take what the defense gives you. You take, and eventually a bust is going to be there. So it's almost like you bore them to death. So I want to bore slant here, hitch here, swing route there, and then essentially there's going to be a blown coverage. That's when I take my shot. So if you looked at Will Rogers' stats, and I have it on top of my head, his yards per attempt are I think under 6. I think it was 5 something or somewhere in that range. And you want to be in that 7+ yards per attempt range of regardless what offense you're in. So I think getting them to take a bit more shots, and that's, I think, comes with being comfortable with the offense. And of course, year 2, having a full offseason, I think is going to help Rogers or whoever ends up being the guy.